Do I do it or I don't do it? Okay, fine, I'll do it. And we're off. Hi, gang. Back here on this Wednesday with Chris Perkins from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, joining little old me on the latest episode of the All Dolphins podcast, where the Miami Dolphins began practicing in Madrid. Name of the station, the stadium where they're practicing totally escapes me. I do not know. What I do know is the Dolphins injury report, what Tua Tagovailoa had to say during his weekly media session, which was different because he had some more big picture questions because it was being conducted internationally in front of reporters. We don't talk to him every week. And what else? Whatever else we'll need to discuss, we'll discuss it with Perk from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Perk, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I thought things went well for the Dolphins on that press conference today with Mike McDaniel and Tua, but we will discuss that further, I'm sure.
Very well done. And that's going to be our intro. Before we get into it, as always, a reminder to please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Please be respectful in your comments. For those who prefer the audio version of the podcast, you can find the All Dolphins podcast wherever you get your fine podcast. Check out the fine content as well on MiamiDolphins.si.com, all for free. Check out my man Perk's fine content at sunsentinel.com as well as the Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk, which airs every Tuesday at noon. Did one yesterday with one Dave Hyde. So we'll start with some business, and that's the injury report, which includes one new name, two new names on the injury report, and we'll do it this way. The big news for Wednesday, from a football standpoint, it can be found on the injury report. That's the presence of Austin Jackson on there, listed as limited with a toe injury, but the fact that he was practiced means obviously he was designated to return from IR. Dolphins now have a 21-day window before making a decision on his status. They can keep him on IR the rest of the season, or they can activate him, or they can release him or waive him, which I don't expect will happen. But finally, we get one of the four guys who had been on IR since the start of the season back at practice. So I guess that's good news here.
Yeah, that's good news for the Dolphins. I mean, look, they've rushed for more than 100 yards in two of the last three games. Austin Jackson is probably their best run-blocking offensive lineman. You throw him in there with Aaron Brewer, Daniel Brunskill, Patrick Paul. They can pick up for whatever's lacking with Jonas Abayinaya. I actually don't know how well Cole Strange has been playing, but they've rushed for over 200 in two of the last three. That's what I think. And they didn't allow a sack last game. I think that is the third time this season they have not allowed a sack. I want to say they've allowed 3 sacks in the last 3 games. So things are looking up for that offensive line. I'm not saying that any of them are going to the Pro Bowl. Patrick Paul would have the best chance, but things are looking, yes, because of his run blocking.
He doesn't have the name either. For offensive linemen, right. And I don't mean to break your thought, but for offensive linemen, generally speaking, you have to establish yourself, build a name, build a reputation. Then you can get voted to the Pro Bowl, and then you'll keep on getting voted to the Pro Bowl, even past your prime when you don't deserve it anymore because you have the name. I'm sorry.
Oh, did you say Teron? So I know. Why is he got to catch a straight? I know. Right? That's terrible.
Wow.
Man's minding his own business, doing a good podcast, and here I go. Anyway, but the offensive line, I know. How do I recover from that one?
That's it, folks. That's it for the episode today. No, we can. Oh, see, now, no, I did not shut off Perk's mic. Something happened. I did not cut off his volume. Oh, and now he disappeared.
There we go.
Now he's going
there incognito. No, I'm back.
Now he's going incognito.
I know it. Yeah, we can edit that out, right? We can edit that out.
No, there's no editing here.
Why do I have to say that? I should have said that. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay. Now I forgot what we were talking about. That was
the injuries, the offensive line. Yes, right. Austin Jackson coming back before I started. Sniping.
No, and I'll mention another name too. So Teron, by the way, if you're watching, we love you, buddy. You're fabulous guy.
He invited me to his retirement party, and this is how I thank him.
See, there you go. That No, the other one I was going to mention is not only Teron Armstead, but Xavier Howard also was voted to the Pro Bowl the last time. He even came back and said that, like, the following February or whatever it was, that he didn't think he deserved, he belonged in the Pro Bowl. So it does happen. That's just flat out the nature of things. With Austin Jackson, I will mention that overall, I'd say Larry Borum has done a pretty serviceable job, and much better than I think all of us expected based on what we saw in training camp, where it was like, yeesh. That's not good. But to me, I think he's been solid.
Yeah, I think he has too. And look, again, as a 5-man unit or 6-man unit, including Daniel Brunskill, their play has come around. I don't know that, I guess Jonah has been the weakest link, but they've played well as a unit. I'm gonna shut my mouth
before I get myself in trouble. So that leaves 3 other players who are on IR who have been eligible to return. That's Andrew Meyer, James Daniels, Jason Sanders. They're still not back. Who knows when we expect them? Out of those, I think Jason Sanders obviously a significant one because Riley Patterson has done a pretty good job. He's not Jason Sanders. And the big one for me would be James Daniels because he's a pretty darn good starting guard in the NFL, and the Dolphins have gotten subpar guard play from Jonas Savaiinaea on the left side, and then on the right side, whether it's been Keon Smith, Daniel Brunskill, or Cole Strange. But overall, as a group, as you mentioned, the offensive line has been serviceable. There is, however, a potential issue on the offensive line. Mike McDaniel did not sound overly concerned when he spoke to the media before practice on Wednesday, but Aaron Brewer is dealing with an issue that popped up, I guess, during the game against the Bills on Sunday, even though he played every single snap, but obviously he was playing with some discomfort. He is listed with foot and ankle injuries or issues, whatever you want to call it. Did not practice on Wednesday. It's the same injury as Rasul Douglas, who again did not practice after not playing against the Bills on Sunday. Aaron Brewer would be a big loss because you mentioned the work of Austin Jackson as a run blocker. I'd say Aaron Brewer has had a pretty good season in that department as well.
Yeah. He's a guy who is very aggressive. He mows guys down. I mean, he once told us that he's out there head hunting, and that's what Aaron Brewer does. I mean, he is a physical, mean, aggressive player. He provides that offensive line with the skill and the attitude that it needs. He's a team captain. I would expect that he's going to play. It's just how effective will he be out there is probably the biggest question to me.
Yep. No, that's a good point. Those were the only 2 players who did not practice. They had 6 players listed as limited, including D.S. Gridge, which is an upgrade over last week since he didn't practice last week and didn't play against Buffalo. Julian Hill, who's inactive status against Buffalo, maybe was a little bit of a surprise considering he practiced all of last week. He's limited again with an ankle injury, and also limited where safety Ashton Davis didn't play against the Bills. Running back Ali Gordon, too, and then safety Fatu Melifonwu, who not only played against the Bills, had that big interception in the third quarter. And then Chop Robinson, still listed, but he was listed as a full participant with a concussion. And as you indicated, he had not quite cleared concussion protocol on Monday. The final step is always practice, no side effects the next day, and then you're good. I would imagine this would indicate we're on the verge of clearing. The Washington injury report is interesting because I don't recall the last time I've seen this. On Wednesday, they already ruled out 3 players, which I have not seen that. I don't know last time I saw that. The big name, obviously, is Jaden Daniels with the left elbow injury. The other 2 are Treylon Burks, the wide receiver, former first-round pick of the Tennessee Titans, who they selected to replace A.J. Brown after they traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles in a very regrettable move. And then also, I'm going to pronounce his name, Ali Cajo, linebacker, has a concussion, is a DNP. 3 other Commanders players did not practice, including wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who's got a quad injury. This is interesting here. I don't know why they didn't rule him out already, since Dan Quinn said Monday he wasn't playing even though he was traveling. So, and the other 2 guys who didn't practice were rest situations, including tight end Zach Ertz and former Dolphin first-round pick Laramie Tunsil. We love Laramie Tunsil because that was a gift that kept on giving, that trade with the Houston Texans. Quick sidebar here, Perk. If we look at what the Dolphins got from Tunsil, for Tunsil from Houston, what they were able to turn that into, countered by the fact that it took them 3 years to get another good left tackle, and they had to spend big on a guy with a lung injury history. And you don't need to take any more shots at Teron Armstead, but those are just facts. Would we still call that a slam dunk win for the Dolphins on that trade?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because they got talent that helped them. It didn't help them win a playoff game, but it did help them. The return on that trade was really, really good. And look, and even though you did have to go to Tehran, that's clearly a net gain because Tehran was a helpful leader. Really at left tackle, although the Dolphins haven't found that long-term solution, they have had some good players for a stretch. Even if you go back to Jake Long, to what was Brandon Albert, right? Who was only a year and a half, maybe,
Yeah.
for Brandon Albert. But then Laramie Tunsil, and then you got Tehran. So you didn't have anybody give you like a solid 5 or 6 year run, but you had some really talented players to give you short bursts of quality play. So, you can't have it all, but they've done fairly well, okay at left tackle. I guess you can say fairly well since Jake Long. Fairly, yeah. It's hard to summarize it. Yeah, you've had some Pro Bowl caliber play there.
Yeah, at times.
But that's a 17-year stretch, right? Because Jake Long was 08.
Correct. They was actually 08.
That's a long time.
No, correct. And generally, yeah. Then it's, I guess, it may be tougher for offensive linemen to last a long time because of injuries, and it's always the damn thing of getting rolled up. You could be stonewalling your opponent the entire game, and then you get somebody coming in from the side, rolling into your ankle, and boom. Dolphins had it good like in 1990 when they took Richmond Webb with the 9th overall pick, and he was a Pro Bowl selection for his first 7 seasons. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. So this game against Washington, no Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin, no Daron Payne, unless I miss something. I don't believe that the NFL has what's what I'm looking for, overturned the suspension. It's a game the Dolphins logically should win without too many issues. I did mention on MiamiDolphinsSide.com maybe one concern is a post-Bills hangover, considering, and I equated it to not only beating Josh Allen, which like what happened in 2022, the next week they lost at Cincinnati, but also whenever they beat Tom Brady when he was with the Patriots and they were ruling the AFC East. Generally speaking, they weren't able to follow that up with another win. Could be different circumstances. It could be argued because the Dolphins are in desperation mode.
Could be. Really, this is, to me, a question of how you deal with prosperity, how you deal with expectations, and how you deal with this disruption in the schedule. Because going to Spain, that's a major trip. Obviously, you're not in your normal. I guess place of rest that's a terrible term, isn't it? You're not dead. You're not your head.
The final resting place.
You're sleeping in a different bed. Let me just try to keep it simple. Why can't I keep sleeping simple today? But there's like these little disruptions for the Dolphins, and so yes, we will see how they are kind of being the hunted instead of the hunter, right? Because if you're Washington, nobody's expecting you to win. You're on a 5-game losing streak. You're missing some of your best players. Nobody's expecting you to do anything but get your butt kicked. And for the Dolphins, it's the reverse. People are now expecting you to kick some butt this week against Washington, next week against New Orleans, the following week against the Jets. But the Dolphins have to stay focused, right? They can't get too far ahead of themselves and start thinking of, we can win back-to-back games for the first time this year, and then we can go on a 4-game win streak, and then we can be 6-7, and we can put our season back. So let's see how they handle prosperity. Let's see if they can stay focused.
Yeah, and I like that. I can't win with with the entirety of the folks who are kind enough to tune in and watch the All Dolphins podcast on a daily basis, because I bring up the possibility of 6-7, which I really like, because I like seeing them in the hunt and start doing like the rooting guide every week, what needs to happen to help the Dolphins. And then there's a certain section of fans are going to be like, you're crazy, you're selling hopium again. And then on the other hand, if I point out there's still major question marks about the Dolphins because this was not an ape type performance by the Bills, then it's like I can't give them any credit. So it's a tough line to try to navigate over here. I prefer selling hopium because, Dolphins are not allowed. Dolphin players are not allowed to look ahead. You and I are allowed to look ahead.
Right.
And logic says they beat Washington, they beat New Orleans, and they beat the Jets. So logic says they're going to be 6-7, which is exactly where they were last year, I believe, through 13 games.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be lucky enough to be able to stay in 10 season? The thing is, the reality is, two of their three best performances of the season, their two best performances of the season have come in the past 3 weeks.
Yep.
And both times they played from ahead the entire game, and they were able to use the running game, and the defense completely balled out. Could it be that the defense, after all those weeks, either with some tweaks here and there, with the maturation perhaps of some of the young players, has reached a point where it can play to a higher level than was possible early in the season? That's
possible. And let me tell you this about walking that fine line, though, Poop, and to everybody watching. If that's right. If the Dolphins get to 6-7, I think that's meeting expectations. They wouldn't have taken the normal route to get there, path to get there. Boy, I'm doing bad today. But
you didn't bring your A game today, Perk. That's okay.
This is terrible. But the 6-7, I think, would kind of be what a lot of people expected, because even if you expected the Dolphins to win 6 games, like a lot of the national people did, 5 or 6, when you get to 6-7, Poop, those last 4 are pretty tough, aren't they? We're looking at Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa, and New England.
Yep.
You're going to have a tough Monday night road game at Pittsburgh. You could have Joe Burrow back for Cincinnati. And then, Tampa and New England are both playoff caliber teams. So this is road game, late season tough games, playoff caliber teams. A lot of these big hurdles for the Dolphins. So even if they get to 6-7, you could see them winning 7 games, winning 6 games, whatever. To me, that's what I want to see. And I think I'm going to kind of write about this tomorrow in a Tua McDaniel column, saying, what would it take for those two to come back? You have to, with me, my big thing, Poop. They entered this season 4-16 against playoff caliber teams. I would want to see them beat Tampa and New England if we talk about them coming back. That's kind of included. You got to beat one of them, but win some tough late season games. But 6-7 to the point that you can kind of walk that fine line, and 6-7 is where this team should be heading into the final 4 games. There you go.
I have to do it. We know why Tua is going to come back in 2026, no matter what, because of his contract.
Yeah. I know. I'm willing to rip the Band-Aid off and split it into 2 years, but whatever.
That's painful.
It's very painful, but you made a mistake.
And the other part of it too is, again, and this is where from the start, the worst case scenario with any quarterback you draft in the first round is that he not be quite good enough to get you where you want to go, but not be bad enough to where it's easy to turn the page very quickly. And this is where the Dolphins were with Ryan Tannehill, which led them to give him a big second contract. This is where you were with Tua, which led the Dolphins to give him a big second contract, and then you're kind of you are where we are. And again, also depends on if Tua finishes the season, on a roll, then there would be no reason to basically, move on from him for the sake of moving on from him, because he's not in the A level of Josh Allen and all that, even though ideally that's what you strive for. But I don't know that you start that process when your guy's making 40. He's got a cap number of 56.4.
Yeah, it's all about the money, right? And this is one of those times when they tell you it's not about the money, it's about the money, and that's what it's about. And I don't even know if the Dolphins would try to tell you it's not about the money here. But if they come back together, this is going to be year 4 as a duo that they don't win a playoff game. You're going to bring them back for year 5, and they're not winning a playoff game next year. And so you're going to look back and go, wow, 5 years with this duo, this coach quarterback duo without winning a playoff game. And part of my column could be, probably should be going through the standings and seeing how many current quarterback coach duos have gone 5 years without winning a playoff game. Off the top of my head, I probably can't think of one. The McCarthy-Dak Prescott might have been the best example off the top of my head. And
Andy
Mike
Dalton,
McCarthy just got – what's
Andy
that?
Dalton, Marvin Lewis.
Well, current.
Oh, current.
But yes, Dalton Lewis, yes. When Cincinnati kept going and they couldn't get it done, right. It's not a common thing, and so the Dolphins would be signing up for it probably just because of finances, not because they think that they're about to turn a corner. It's because we signed Tua to this contract and we're locked in, and Mike McDaniel works well with Tua, so let's just play out the string and finish it. They won't be doing it from a position of hope and optimism. It would just be trudging toward the finish line to me.
Again, but again, if Tua were a dumpster fire as a quarterback, it would be simpler. He's not.
Right. You're correct. You're correct.
You're
correct. And if he does come back next season, I'll say this, and I will say this: you would have that foursome of McDaniel, Tua, Waddle, Achane, which is really blossoming right now. I thought about writing a column about, is there any way that Tyreek was kind of a detriment to McDaniel's play calling in that he relied on him too much? Are we seeing McDaniel blossom without him? But I don't feel strongly enough about that right now. It's way too early. It's way too early for that. And it's not like Achane and Waddle have led them to greatness at this point. They did have 309 of the 370 yards against Buffalo from scrimmage, but I'm holding off on that one.
If you write that or suggest that, prepare to duck, because the comments of like whatever happened to the offense is about two things: Tyreek and the threat of Tyreek.
Oh, that's 100% true. But it would the standpoint would be was Tyreek so much of a crutch for McDaniel that he held him back, that he prevented McDaniel from going to the run more consistently, like we see him doing now with Achane, that it was definitely a positive to have Tyreek, but was it too big of a crutch? Did it actually hold back the creativity of Mike McDaniel, the play caller? But it's too early for that.
It's very correct. It's very possible. Let's see them have sustained success against better. Not against better opponents. Again, week after week after week, as opposed to 2 out of 3 games after you started 1-6.
Right.
So,
right.
Regarding the matchup, because we're not doing a ton about the matchup against Washington. Why? Because it's Washington. Oh, sorry.
See, this is how the Dolphins cannot think the way that we're thinking right now. That's how they can't think. Right.
We can do this. This matchup would be a lot more fun. If Jaden Daniels were playing, he's a lot of fun, and he can be trouble by himself. Marcus Mariota can make some plays, but he's not. He's a B quarterback, B-, C+, that neighborhood.
We remember Anthony Richardson and Will Levis have beaten Mike McDaniel teams, though.
True.
Yeah.
True. No, let me guess. So you picked Washington?
No way. Heck no. Heck no.
Thank you. Case closed. Yeah, no, they got a good rookie running back whose name I can't even remember right now. Terry McLaurin's their good wide receiver. He's out. Zach Ertz's a good tight end, but he's at the end of his career. Deebo Samuel is not prime Deebo Samuel from the 49ers. On defense, Bobby Wagner's a hell of a player, but he's also toward the end of his career. Deron Payne's their best defensive lineman. He's not playing. It's just not.
Hey, let me ask you this. So if you are Anthony Weaver, do you let Patrick Paul know that part of the game plan could be attacking his brother, the left guard, Chris Paul? Do you let Patrick Paul know we kind of view him as Tunsil is good at center, and Tyler Biatch, how do you pronounce his last name, is good at center, but that
Tyler
left guard.
Tyler Badasses.
Right. But that left guard, we think we can go at him. Do you let Patrick Paul know that? And,
funny.
I know. But we do have Chris Paul.
Yeah, that it's a very
Biadasz, yes.
No, it's funny too because there's somebody writer for the Boston Herald who was telling a story about how the Patriots front office was divided between Trevion Henderson in the draft and then Jonah Savanamanaya. And then so I put on social media, I'm like, I bet you're happy they chose Trayvon Henderson so you don't have to learn how to pronounce Sabainaya.
Right, exactly.
Back to Washington real quickly. Should mention that they have a new wide receiver on their active roster as of 2 days ago, that being Robbie Chosen. And they also signed to the practice squad this week, River Craycraft. So maybe
I missed that.
Cool. Yes, it'd be cool if you got elevated and two former Dolphins would play. So we talked about we alluded to it, the press conference with Mike McDaniel in Madrid. And since he's facing Dan Quinn for the first time, the story of what happened, for those not familiar, in Atlanta in 2016 when both were assistants under who was the head coach? No, Dan Quinn was the head coach.
I think Quinn was, yeah.
Yeah, Dan Quinn was the head coach. They went to the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan was on that staff also. Mike McDaniel was on that staff. And if you know, you should know the story by now if you're a Dolphin fan. But it was a group of Atlanta coaches who kind of had a sort of intervention with Mike McDaniel, who had a drinking problem at the time, and tremendous amount of respect for both of them. And Mike McDaniel, again, both coaches were asked about this on Wednesday, and McDaniel's most powerful line, he says he'll be forever indebted to Dan Quinn, for helping him get on the right path, and certainly, I don't know if Savage's career might be too strong in him, but essentially Savage's career. So that was a nice moment as far as that is concerned.
It was, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Mike was out of the league for 865 days, and didn't he have an index card that he had on his desk or on a wall that he pinned up with that number on it, reminding?
Yes.
That how many days he was out of the league. So a lot of tentacles of that story. But the good thing is we got Mike McDaniel back, and I'm happy for that. As much as I criticize Mike McDaniel, he's a good man, a good coach. Yep. And I hope that he has success, and I'm glad for his sobriety. So, that's a good story there.
Yeah, and I just bring it up for those who may have not have been familiar with the story. And also, if you look at his bio, you'll see 3 years in the United Football League back then, and wondering why what happened there. That's kind of what happened. And then with the Tua media session, and again, this was interesting where, because there were Spanish reporters, we don't talk to them every week. One of them asked a very interesting of how would you describe your year in terms of the challenges that you've gone through? And then Tua, to his credit, said basically his biggest regret, the biggest challenge, was dealing with the aftermath of his comments after the Chargers game when he infamously said, some guys were being late to players-led meetings.
Tua did a great job today. He did a great job with that. He did a great job smiling. He did a great job being friendly. He talked about also, it just slipped my mind. There was something else that
sounds like.
I just slipped my mind. But anyway, but Tua was good. He was gracious. The Alabama changing the game, that
Oh yeah.
question, and he deflected. He was very gracious, saying, "No, it's Nick Saban. It was the system. I came in and I was, I just continued what they had already started." He was very gracious, very humble today. Very friendly. He was kind of relaxed, actually. So Tua did a great job up there today. I thought, great job.
No, he did, and it's like, again, what was the notion that? And I hope this is not coming across. I hope this doesn't come across as an attack on Tua, because it's not. But I think is what the idea that because they ran RPO at Alabama that revolutionized all things. In RPO, kind of like, it's again everything. And then this was a coach who said this a while back, that they're very, whatever new ideas come up is always an offshoot of something that's already been done. Football's been around for a very, very long time. Like the RPO is kind of sort of like an offshoot of the option.
Right.
That old triple option where instead of handing off, you're just going back. So the RPO is just, different formation in the backfield. But it's kind of sort of, I don't know that it's reinventing the wheel, so to speak. But regardless, Tua did a nice job. Yeah, and I agree with you that it was very well done. And again, time difference. Spain is 6 hours ahead of Miami time, which is why Mike McDaniel spoke at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. He will do the same on Friday. Thursday is the coordinators. As always, any final thoughts, Chris Perkins, before we wrap it up, other than an apology to Teron Armstead?
I know, I do apologize, Teron. That was a cheap shot. No, you know what? I love hearing the questions from the international media because they're so different and so fresh. It's not our same old football. Mm-hmm. And you do hear the questions about Tua. You revolutionized the game, and you do hear the questions about, did you get out in Spain? And Tua saying, yeah, I did get out a little bit. I probably got 20,000 steps. And Mike McDaniel saying, well, I know my hotel room. I know where my computer is, and I know where the pins are and all that. I haven't gotten out. And Tua saying my family is coming over later in the week. And so just how different guys prepare, what they see, what they do. And that's refreshing. We would never ask them that here in Miami Gardens. Hey, Tua, what'd you do on your off day? It's good stuff to hear that, he got out, he walked around Madrid. What did you see? That kind of stuff. I like hearing different, refreshing questions as opposed to the crap that we ask all the time. Oh, I said the quiet part out loud again.
And we do ask crap.
We kind of sometimes.
Yeah, I'll save you I'll save the commenters from we do ask crap all the time. And Tuesday was the day for the Dolphins to walk around and about to check out Madrid. I'm gonna guess they're probably gonna have some time as well. Mike McDaniel indicated he's basically been in his office and on a laptop watching film, that he may get to some sightseeing probably the end of the day Friday. And the players would have a little bit of free time there as well. But again, this is a business trip. The Dolphins are out there to try to make it 2 in a row to go to 4-7 on the season heading into their bye. So that's going to wrap it up. He is Chris Perkins from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Check out his fine work at sunsentinel.com. As always, friendly reminder, first of all, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Check out the free written content at MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com. And for those who prefer the audio podcast versions, so you don't have to look at our ugly mugs, wherever you get your audio podcast, Google, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Until we meet again, we won't see each other. Y'all have a good one.